As far as talent identification here in the United States, is anybody looking at it right now from the national governing bodies? Or anybody saying, hey, like, because to me, I look at the numbers, and I haven't been involved too much on that level, but I look at the junior nationals, which are smaller than they used to be, but we still do have a decent amount of kids in that, the cadet, that 13 to 16-year-old division. Those divisions are pretty decent. Those are the best ones at the junior nationals. But to me, you got to grab those kids. I mean, if you take... even if you take 10 of those kids out of every category, you roughly got 150 kids in the country, and say like our Olympic team in 2028 is more than likely going to come out of that group of kids. But somebody's got to identify those kids, tell their families that they have a pretty unique opportunity, if not even to make the Olympics, but to be part of the run and to have like the potential to do something big in your life. And for me, I firmly believe that the chase of that Olympic goal, whether it's, everyone has different goals of themselves, like to win an Olympic gold or to make an Olympic team. I never made an Olympic team, but having the Olympics as this like goal, this thing that's much bigger than me, much bigger than anything else that a kid can do, it kept me motivated. It gave me drive all through my childhood, and it gave me, big goals to chase. And I'm a firm believer that kids need giant goals. It doesn't matter how big and outlandish they may seem to your friends at your school or to your teachers who think that the Olympics are a long shot and you'll never make it. Dream big, and somebody needs to identify those kids and say, look, you do have a chance, and we want to help provide you some of the things that you will need in order to make that an actual reality. And I think that we need to start doing that, like you said, right now. And I hope that there's somebody in the organization that's willing to start January of, if not like, September, like in 2 months, right when these Olympics are over, there's gonna be a lot of people going, okay, what's next? What are we going to do?
Sure.
How are we going to make a change for the next one?
How we're going to write the course.
Right.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Chuck. I mean, everything starts with a dream in life. Everything starts with a goal. You have to be passionate about whatever that goal is that you're going to do. And you got to pursue it with 100% of your heart and effort. Right. It doesn't happen by accident. I tell kids all the time, there's no magic secret formula to success. You got to dream big. You got to work your tail off. You got to make sacrifices, and you got to believe it's going to happen. And you've got to will it to happen. You got to put the time, energy, and effort, 100% of yourself into it. And if you make it, great. But if you don't give 100% of your effort and you don't try, you're never going to make it. Right. We've always had talented kids in this country. There's no question. We can compete with the rest of the world from the age of 13 to 16. We've always been able to do that. And even right now, I've been to a lot of the junior national championships. We have talented kids right now that under the right guidance for 7 years will have a shot in 2028 of putting somebody on the medal stand. You could have the best program in the world and never win an Olympic medal. I mean, countries like France and even Brazil at this Olympics, they may not win a medal. And they're legitimate top 5, top 10 programs. But because the rest of the world is that professional, and it is that difficult to win right now.
Yeah.
But we do have a fighting chance in 2028 if we do the right things, we take the right steps. And like I said, we all have to work together. It can no longer be that, we can only take our juniors on the road during the summers because they have school. No, listen, you've got to be a full-time judoka. If we're going to have a team in 2028, we've got to make some drastic decisions. Kids can go to school online today. There's no reason why we can't take kids and put them in a professional Olympic development program where they're either at a national training center or they're on the road with a tutor who goes on the road with the kids, and they do online classes. And they wake up early in the morning, they do judo for 2 hours, they do school for 3 hours, they do strength and conditioning in the afternoon, they go back to school for a couple hours, and at night they're doing randori. And that's got to be from now until 2028, or we don't have a chance.
Right.
That's just a fact.
There was a Vice episode that I think it was probably last year. So it was about Dagestan, and this reporter went into some town and some wrestling school. And the one wrestling school that he chose, I think it said it had, roughly 1,000 kids. And that was not the only wrestling school in that town. I mean, there was multiple wrestling schools in this town, and he interviewed some of the kids and he said, what do you do? And they're like, oh, we wrestle. Like, well, do you go to school? And he's like, well, yeah, we go to school. And he said, well, what do you study in school? And how long do you go to school versus wrestling? Well, we do 3 hours of school. And they said, oh, okay, well, what do you do in your 3 hours of school? And the kid said, well, we do, math and reading and history and wrestling. He said, wait a minute, in your 3 hours of school, you also do some wrestling in that on top of the wrestling in the morning and the afternoon. And that was the reality. But these kids, and you've been to these parts of the world where this is what we're up against. We're up against people that are, raised and bred for the grappling sports, whether it's judo or wrestling or, whatever it might be. But these are the judokas that are winning. Like in 2012, I know the 3 Olympics gold medalists from Russia that I think were at your dojo shortly after the Olympic Games. I think most of those guys were from the Dagestan region. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they win $1 million. They win $1 million. They get a house. The house is paid for in their town for life. They get an Audi A8 vehicle, and after that, they also get a couple $1,000 a month to stay involved and inspire the kids and help out with the sport of judo. So they're retired for the rest of their life, and they're heroes.